All right. Well, in this section, we will look into another research strategy. Before that, let's understand the story behind this research strategy, the story of abductive research strategy. Now we're introducing you to another character in the superhero series. Right? Who is this? This is Professor Xavier, also known as Professor X. Right? What is his ability? That's the older Professor Xavier. There's the younger version of Professor Xavier. Right? Not sure which one you like. I'm a fan of Patrick Stewart. Patrick Stewart is his name, right? The older guy.
Yeah.
He's also a Star Trek actor.
Oh.
Yeah. So the story of abductive research strategy and interpretism is underlying philosophy of interpretivism, right? It's the simple one. Remember, if you go back, the idea of inductive research or deductive research, right? Oftentimes it's very much outside in, right? Which means this. If you look at something, right? Let's start with observation, for instance. You look at chair, let's observe this chair. This chair has 4 legs, a place to sit on, a place to rest your back. Or so you start collecting chairs and trying to come up with theories about chairs. Deductive will say, well, let's theorize about chair, let's come up with theories, see what people talk about chair and come up with hypotheses, which one is most relevant hypothesis. Abductive research strategy, which is this research strategy, its essence is on the word abductive. Abduct, which means, in this context, if you want to understand chair, then ask the person who actually created the chair. Ask the manufacturer of the chair, why is it built that way? Why is it designed that way? What's the function of the chair? Why is this chair having 3 legs instead of 4 legs, having 2 legs instead of 4 legs? Why is this chair not having a leg at all? like the seat for the air stewardess or flight attendants, right? Why is it like that, right? Ask the people who created the chair, who was using the chair, who's experiencing the chair experience, right? You ask them, you abduct them, go into their mind, understand the world from their eyes, understand their thoughts, feel their emotions, right? And then convey the world, convey the messages, convey the explanations from their own perspective. That is the essence of abductive research, right? Abductive research strategy, and this philosophy of interpretivism. And then the philosophy of interpretivism consists of many different traditions, not just one particular tradition. It has many traditions, right? Including phenomenology and possibly grounded theory and a few others. So let's go into abductive research strategy. The ontological assumptions and the epistemological assumptions of abductive research strategy. Okay. Come here. Abductive research strategy, in some ways, are similar with the assumptions. The ontological assumptions are similar with inductive, but there are some crucial differences. It says social reality is a reality that is socially constructed. It is social construction of social actors. The big A there, right? So it has a relativist versus an absolutist view of realities, right? If the inductive research strategy believes in objective reality, that the empirical world is the world for science to understand, is the world for science to explain, is the world for science to theorize, and is building from observation. So there is this one truth, right? And possibly they are interested in God's thoughts, right? How God's laws of the universe are, right? But abductive research says, well, different people have different ways, have different subjective reality. Therefore, there are many truths to this world. There are these many truths to the social reality. The objective world Meaning the metals and the stones, the hills, the rain, the forests, the oceans might be objective, but humans, social world is not objective. Social world is constructed by many different social groups, many different social communities, and they all have different logic, different truths, right? So it's a relativist point of view, perspective. Number 3, social reality is produced and reproduced by meanings emerged from interactions and negotiations of social actors. So social reality that we have right now, right? How we sit together, why the table is long and it's not in the shape of a cow or a pig or a bull or whatever, right? It's because we all come up with a common understanding of how this room should be like, how the table should be like, how the chair should be like, how we should be sitting. If there's a lecturers, professors, students come in, where do they sit, how do they behave? This the social reality is produced and reproduced by these meanings and interactions and negotiations of social actors. So the actors are important part of understanding the social reality. So social reality has been interpreted by social actors even before the arrival of researchers. So researchers need not go into the social world coming up with their own theories or grand theories about how the world works and try to find out whether this social world fits into their grand theory or not. It has been interpreted, it has been constructed through their subjective negotiation of reality. So that is ontological assumptions. So the epistemological assumptions is that the source of social knowledge is the everyday concepts, everyday meanings shared by the social actors. So going back to how the social research strategies differ, one of them is the entry point, at the starting point. If inductive research strategy says data, observation, deductive says theory, hypothesis, retroductive says it doesn't matter, data or theory, you must build the mechanism to explain the whole thing. Abductive research strategy says you start not with yourself. You should have that egoistic bias. You go with the social actors. You understand your world. You go with the social actors' world. You go through their minds, their eyes, and let them construct the meanings. What the relevant concepts are. What are things that are not relevant, right? So number 2, abducting their inner meanings, redescriptions in technical, field-based, social scientific knowledge. So the idea is we advance knowledge, the epistemology. We arrive at knowledge by abducting, by capturing, by kidnapping, by getting the thoughts, the meanings, the emotions, the experiences of the social actors, and let them describe those experiences and the connections between those experiences, the connections between all the meanings. And we as social researchers, as scholars, build on the understanding of that social construction, right? So number 3, theory building. So in abductive research strategy, it's not theory testing, it's about theory building. Explanations can be developed into theories about social reality based on social actors' social construction. So we develop theory about how deviance in the ghettos, how youth deviance in the ghettos behave by understanding their language, by understanding their lives, by understanding their world through their everyday language, through their everyday concept, and let them explain to you what is important, what is not important, what their values are, and how these values impact them, how their experiences impact them, how their families impact them, and let them come up with their own explanation, because your theory is limited by certain assumptions about your own world, but that is your own world. The social reality of the social actors are constructed by the logic of the social actors themselves, right? By their subjectivity, by the intersubjectivity, right? The shared consciousness, the shared meanings, right? So that is the one that needs to be captured by the scholars, by the researchers, right? Okay. So abductive research is a research to see, to sense, to feel the world from the social actors' very own eyes, very own experiences, very own emotions. If you look at this picture here, you know, women pushing, one man pulling, and that doesn't look like something that's light. It's very heavy, probably painful as well, right? Why are they laughing? Why are they like really laughing? Right? Right? Now, I'll share with you a research that we conducted, a team research that we conducted in Sains, right? So we invite you all to join Sains and to rediscover the joy of team research. Right? We conducted research on migrant workers, Indonesian migrant workers, right? We were interested in one inquiry, a simple inquiry. Are you happy working in Penang? Are you happy working in Pulau Penang? Right? We discovered that there are struggles, there are hardships, there are difficulties. But what's interesting is this. Hardships, difficulties, struggles do not translate into unhappiness. It's the meanings they attach to the experiences that produce a certain state of mind, certain state of emotion. In fact, many of them give positive meanings to their struggles, to their hardships. In fact, many of them share those hardships, those struggles, those difficulties. And sometimes they are proud of those hardship struggles because they give positive meaning. They give a different kind of meaning. They were talking about spiritual gratitude, about familial connectivity, to the meanings that they attach.
Student, what?
No, come.
How many?
Let me introduce you, our director, Sains. He's a very kind man. Okay. There's Associate Professor Dr. Azim, a bro in this center. It's good on him to come and check on us. Now, the point here is this. If we go in and say, what's your experience about this? Strongly agree, disagree, hardship, we come up with our conceptions of measurements of happiness, right? Measurements of satisfaction. You would think, no, it's not satisfied, work, right? But that doesn't mean they're not happy. So we are having the wrong set of questions. What we should do is to let them define what's relevant. Let them define what theories are relevant to them, what emotions are relevant to them. It seems like our research question about finding out what's happiness was a wrong research question. The highest state of emotion of these migrant workers was spiritual gratitude and familial giving, familial connectivity. To them, that is the utmost important state. Yeah. So this is what abductive research is about, right? Let them define the research concepts, right? Let them connect to your research concepts, to the concepts out there, and let them redefine those concepts, right? And let them structure the ways of explaining their reality. Next, please. Abductive. So that's why abductive research and interpretivism. Right. I'll go through certain points here. Let me see. Abduction, the process used to generate social scientific accounts from social actors' accounts. So the difference between this and the other research strategies is that you use social actors' own language, own concepts to construct understanding of reality and theorizing about reality. Abductive research is peculiar to social sciences, to the liberal arts. It cannot be applied to hard sciences. You cannot ask a stone, you cannot ask a microbe, how do you feel today? You cannot ask that, although I believe in speaking to animals and plants, because I believe that communication of that level has certain impact, but science have not discovered. Well, some have. But we are talking about research, traditional research. Right? Interpretivism, often referred to as anti-naturalist, anti-positivist, anti or anti, depending on American or British, considers the meanings, motives, intentions that people use in their everyday lives and that directs their behaviors. So then we look at the stock of knowledge of human beings, of the social actors, of the groups of people that you want to study. So the managers, how do managers look at globalization? How do managers look at intercultural communication? How do managers look at human resource? How do women managers interpret human resource? How do women, you can look at the world from their point of view. Subjectivity. So insider versus outsider point of view. Social world is the world interpreted and experienced by its members from the inside. So we come in from our own boxes, our own categories of strongly agree, disagree, strongly disagree. That, according to abductive research strategy, is nonsense, right? Well, you can get some understanding, but you might not get the real understanding from the social actors themselves, right? Intersubjectivity, members of a particular society share common meanings and interpretation, and they maintain throughout them through their ongoing interaction together. So the intersubjectivity, the shared consciousness, the shared emotion, that is what you want to capture. That is what you want to find out. What is the common themes, common typologies, right? Common experiences. So the task, and this is the important part, the task of social scientists is to capture these inside meanings of social actors, the big A's, right? And convey them in a technical, scientific, theoretical knowledge, right? So just like Bruce Lee, he once said, be like water, be like water, right? So be like water, right? You got to flow inside the vessel to know how it feels to be in the vessel. You got to flow in the cup to know how it feels to be in the cup. You got to flow into the pond to know how it feels to be like a pond. But actually, Bruce Lee might also talk about something else about martial arts, right? So the structure is not as important as the real context and conditions, right? So the next one, so this is why we talk about Professor Xavier, right? So Professor Xavier has the ability to see, to feel. He's also like empathetic, right? Empath, right? Can feel, right? The feel, not just to think, to see, but also to feel, right? Inside this point of view. So the second is systematically capturing everyday language, meanings, and concepts. So you can create this everyday typifications, everyday typologies, different meanings they attach to different situations. You can capture 1 meaning, 2 meaning, 3 meanings, 4 meanings, 5 meanings. You can have a variety of meanings, right? And then number 3, you build a technical or field-based, depending on what your field is. You might be in management, you might be in humanities, you might be in gender studies, you might be in social sciences, you might be in political science, anthropology, sociology, economics. It's based on the field that is that you belong to. A field-based explanation based on social actors, concepts, and the stock of knowledge. So you create kind of a second-order construct, a second-order. This is much more theoretical. This is much more technical. So you have everyday language, everyday concepts. From the everyday concepts of the social actors, right? And you from the everyday concepts, right? You might have 3 or 4 different concepts of what, how the manager handles problematic employees, right? Or 5 different typologies or 5 different approaches, and then you say from that you can theorize even further, right? This is how you build a theory, right? From abductive research. The next, abductive research strategy, 4 steps to it. So there are a lot of people there, right? Hundreds of thousands of people. But so you cannot enter. So abductive research strategy says, look, we are made not just individual human beings, we are made of communities, identities, different communities, different institutions, different localities, right? So we not just random group of people everywhere, right? There's urban, there's rural, there's poor, there's rich, there's educated, not educated, there's this ethnic group, that ethnic group from the country, the south, the north, right? I know my friends from the north say, 那个南方的人呢很乱，很乱。People from south is very chaotic, very chaotic. These are my Chinese friends from the north. These are gentlemen. Right? So, you have different groups of people. So we got to enter the actor's world and capture the knowledge and the meanings of the actor's world, the groups of the actor's world. And the social, number two, the social actors' everyday concepts. Yeah? So you capture their everyday concepts, their own meanings, their own words, their own thinking, and their own thoughts, and put together these thoughts, right? And okay, number three, from the everyday concept, which is first order constructs in the technical term, you build technical interpretation or theoretical and conceptual interpretation. You use your own literature to interpret the concepts taken from them. Right? Remember, the concepts are not coming from you. You can use sensitizing concepts just to explore their world, but at the end, they will come up with explanations of the concept, which is might not be yours, might be yours, might be similar to yours, but it is from them. It is not from you, right?
Interpretation.
Okay. And number four, from this first order, second order, from this everyday concept, from the technical interpretation, you build a theory. So you can have a theory, it's theory building, and from here you can do future research and do theory testing. So these are the 4 steps of abductive research. Remember, the key word is A. You have to be like Professor, be like Professor Xavier, right? To understand before we impose, right? To understand, to feel, to sense, to empathize, and to explain the world from the social actor's point of view, not from your own categories of explanation with your own boxes. You know. This is abductive research, and that's interpretivism as a philosophy, right? Okay, can we have the final one? So, terima kasih. This is our final slide. Again, I highlight this point. This is our first lecture. We will have our next lecture on Wednesday. But again, I tell you to keep on regularly checking our website, right? e-learn as well. I also invite you all to join us and rediscover the joy of team research in Sains, right? That is, by the way, there's also Professor Xavier when he's younger, and that's, who's that? Wolverine and Beast. The Beast. Hank. Hank saying something, I forgot what's the name. Right. So join us. We have a team of scholars here, a team of postgraduates here. I myself have graduated 21 postgraduates, 16, 17 of them are PhDs. We have 100% success rate. Alhamdulillah, shukr, thank God. I'm very grateful. And also, I'm happy and proud to share with you that Sains score excellent in terms of its postgraduate studies in USM, right? So we have different ranking of scoring of Sains. Maybe that's partially the reason we're entrusted to carry out this course, right? Reluctantly but happily. So thank you very much. My lecture will adjourn here. We will see you again soon. If anyone has any questions, we can post the questions in the chat. We will do our best to answer